Everyone, so we're going to be talking about how we can use AI and ChatGPT to actually improve our lead generation efforts today. The use case that I'm going to be describing is what can we do with our data lists using AI to ultimately get our lists so that they're more precise and more targeted. One of the key things at the moment for lead generation really working is a term that you probably hear a lot, which is relevancy. And the way that we use AI is ultimately to filter down our lead lists so that if there are any irrelevant people that we think don't precisely match our ICP, then we can use AI to really quickly filter through those, take those people out of our list and make sure that everybody that we're reaching out to is as close to our ICP description as possible. So there are a few ways that you can do, scoring in Clay, but we've found that using AI can actually take quite a lot of the heavy lifting for you, in the sense of you don't have to set up any scoring matrices or anything like that. You can just do it with purely AI prompt logic. So you can use data that you already have existing, and you can use that data to perform web research, content creation, to ultimately find more information about the leads and companies in your list, and then use that extra information that you found to filter down your list better and remove any that aren't exactly the ideal people that you want to be reaching out to. So requirements for this, obviously Clay. We're going to need access to this feature just here where we can bring in our own API keys. So we're going to need the $149 a month Clay plan to make this work. And then we're also going to need an OpenAI developer platform. And one important thing to note with this is that you will need to add enough credit so that you can get up to at least the tier 3 of usage. If that sounds complicated, no worries, because it was for me initially. All you need to do here, if I just log in, so in the OpenAI platform, you have limits and usage just here. So you can see that this is our usage tier. We're currently on usage tier 5, and you want to have a minimum of usage tier 3 for this to work. So to find out more about the usage, if you just scroll down to here, then you'll be able to see you've got this documentation. And you can see here, to get to tier 3, what you need to have as a minimum requirement is you need to just load up your OpenAI account with $100 of credit. And then you need to basically wait 7 days since that payment goes through to then be able to use the API key how we need to, or how I'm going to show you in this video, within Clay just here. Another option is that you can use Clay credits for this, but the whole purpose of using OpenAI is that we can do this at scale, which I think is the purpose of this video really. So just some information about what you need to qualify for what I'm going to be talking about in this video here. So the way that I approach lead lists like this, so this is like a big database of UK, America, UAE and Asia, full of data on recruitment companies. So this is a client of ours that targets recruitment companies. And the way that I approach data like this is, first I want to make sure that everybody in this list is a recruitment company and that they are a founder of a recruitment company. Right, so the founder part is a little bit easier because you can just manually sort of filter this out by using Clay filters. So you can just go to title and then does not contain founder and then find the ones that don't. But what I want to be talking about is how do we use AI to look up the companies that we have in this list and then remove any that aren't what we would class as our ICP. So the cheapest and easiest way that I've found for this is if you just click onto a column and then go to insert right here and then use AI. And the easiest way is to just describe the prompt that you want to do. So for this instance, I want to go, visit the website of the company and determine whether or not they are a recruitment company based on the content on their page, on their website. And then we'll actually add in the column just into there like that. Then what you can do is then just generate a prompt with Clay. And I'm going to show you why having our OpenAI API key is going to be important now, because Clay credits as a sort of currency, if that's what you want to call them, are very expensive. So you can see here we've got 13,000 odd rows. This is going to cost us 3 credits per row, which is on the 10k credits a month plan. We can only enrich 3,000 rows, and then our whole budget's gone. So we're not going to be using Clay credits for this. We're going to be using our API key. And I'm just going to show you how you can set that up now. So you can see here you've got a model here, right? When you click on this, you're going to see that there's a load of different options. So initially what I like to do is start with the GPT 4.0 mini model. I just found that it is relatively good and relatively cheap for doing web research. And you can see here that we've got the account. So when you initially set this up, it's going to default to Clay credits. But what you can then do is come into here, add an account, and then in your OpenAI platform, you'll then be able to go and find your API key. So if you just go to your profile in the top right and then go to your profile, you'll be able to see here that you've got an API key option. So then you'll be able to click on that, generate a key, and then bring that into your Clay table here and just add it as so you put the API key and then just name it something, and then you'll be able to bring in your Clay account. You'll be able to bring in your OpenAI key into Clay like this. Mine's got the tick box just here. So now we can just check that this prompt works okay, which it looks like it does. It's normally very good at doing this. And then, Clay has opted, or that the AI has opted to output as a JSON schema instead of fields. When we output as a JSON schema, it just means that it's more standardized. So instead of the AI giving us a load of different options, JSON means that it'll either just be like, yes, this is a recruitment company, or no, this is not a recruitment, and it's impossible for the AI to kind of hallucinate, a load of different answers. So if you're looking for like a very standardized sort of yes or no answer, then JSON schemas are usually a really good output format to choose instead of the fields. Let's now just run this. And we'll just see how this works. Often what I will do as well is I'll actually get the AI to ultimately write me a company description first. So I'll get it to just write a description of the company, and then I'll use the content creation model to then go and read that description and determine if it's a recruitment company. The reason I sometimes do that is because it's easier on the web research AI. It's an easier task for the web research, which is where the AI can often hallucinate. So I usually just compare the two. And then what we'll do is pull the response here. And then we're just going to spot check these first 10 to just determine if the AI is correct or not. So you can see that for the most part the AI is accurate, but there's a few that it's returned as unable to determine. And the reason for that is often because that I've found, at least, the load of the task is too much for the AI. So, for example, like this website, if we just click on this, you can see that this is a recruitment company, but for some reason it's just returned as unable to determine. We can just run it again, but if I'm looking at this, what I would do then is I'd set up a different enrichment. So I would then opt for just using one of my templates that I've already set up. So I would just go keyword rich company description. I think this is the website one. Yep. And then I'll just run this instead. Just because it's an easier task for the AI web research to actually go and do. And then what we'll do is I'll show you how we then kind of filter through these after. So we'll generate a description for the company based on their website. And if you already have this from your database, then this will also be solid to obviously have as well. Don't worry about the fact that there's no company descriptions, because what we'll do is we'll just run it again after. So any that say no company description found, what we'll do is we'll just go back and then sort of upgrade the model every time and filter through those. And then so then what we can do is then we can set up another prompt here that then just says, based on the company description here, and we'll put in the company description field, determine whether or not the company is a recruitment company, and we'll generate that. So you can see here that there's really there's two main ways that I would go about filtering by using web research. Use case for this is if you don't have like a company description already, and you need to determine whether the leads in your list are your ICP in a way that's cheap. So you can see here, I'll show you the costs for what this is going to be. So in terms of the web research part, I'll just save that. So web research costs roughly 0.0007 per row. So that means that for 1,000 rows will cost about 70 cents to enrich. So we've got 13,000 rows. So that will roughly be about $9, I think, to enrich the whole table, to basically pull a description about all the companies. And then the actual content creation will be a lot cheaper. So this is 0.00001, so that's going to cost about $2. So all in all, to basically enrich this entire table and determine whether they're your ICP or not will cost about $11. And the investment of that $11 compared to not doing this and just spraying and praying in today's landscape, I think is 100% worth it. Just because if you start racking up a load of spam complaints from people who aren't your ICP, that is going to heavily affect your infrastructure, and you won't be able to get into the inbox of the people who you do want to inbox with. So I just think taking these precautionary steps in something like Clay is really, it's 100% worth it, just to make sure that everybody that you're reaching out to are a definite ICP of yours, because otherwise, like I said, you can potentially run into issues then with getting just put in spam, and the goal of this is that you want to reduce that as much as possible. So yeah, it's just an introduction really into how I go about using AI. And again, like I said, when we have these no company description founds here, what we can then do is just go to the description and then say contains no description, or let's do no company description. Right, and then what I'll do is then just swap the model to a more powerful model, and then we'll run them again. And that's ultimately just how I keep iterating the process. And then after this, if we're still struggling to generate a description from there, then we can just keep upgrading the model. So then I'll switch to something like Helium, run the rows again. And it's ultimately just like an iteration process until you can pull that description. And like I said, I think using AI like this to make sure that everybody in your list is going to be your ICP is 100% worth it. When you have generated all the descriptions and you have the yes, no answers here, all that you then need to do is then just go, classification label equals yes. And then you can just export all of these people into your campaign sequencer and just leave behind all the ones that aren't your ICP. And it's as simple as that. So I hope this just gave you some insight into a quick way that you can use Clay and OpenAI to make sure that the lists that you're sending outreach to are going to be 100% your ICP. And if you've got any follow-up questions for how we operate this in the day-to-day of our agency, feel free to just drop us a question on LinkedIn, or if this is something that you want to implement for your own business, there's a link somewhere above where you'll be able to just book some time with me and we can talk about any specific use cases that you have for your business specifically. So really, big thanks from me for watching this video. And if, like I said, if there are any other questions that you have, feel free to just drop me a comment or message me on LinkedIn. Thank you.